Do you ever wake up feeling like your body just doesn't belong to you anymore? Like every joint aches, every muscle is stiff, and simply getting out of bed feels like a monumental task? Maybe you've just accepted that this is part of getting older, that the aches and pains are just something you have to live with now. The frustration of not being able to do the things you used to, the worry about losing your independence, the sheer physical discomfort that can drain all the joy out of your day. It's a painful reality many of us face. We start limiting our activities, avoiding things we love, just because it hurts too much or feels too hard. But what if I told you there was a simple, natural approach that could help shift things? Something that doesn't involve complicated exercises or expensive treatments. I was feeling exactly that way. Weak, stiff, and frankly, a bit defeated by my body. Then I stumbled upon something incredibly simple, something I could do myself, right at home. It led me on a 2-week journey. A journey that, frankly, felt like going from feeling weak to feeling like a warrior. In this video, I'm going to share that journey with you, step by step, and show you exactly what I did and what happened. It's simpler than you might think. Watch to the end for something that will surprise you. So, let's talk about where this journey began. I was at a point where even simple things felt hard. My shoulders were constantly tight, my neck ached, and my lower back always seemed to groan in protest whenever I bent down or sat for too long. Getting up from a chair wasn't a smooth movement anymore. It was a carefully choreographed effort involving leverage and hoping things didn't seize up halfway. My hands felt stiff, especially in the morning, making things like buttoning a shirt or opening a jar a real challenge. I felt like my body was a cage, holding me back from doing the things I wanted to do, like spending time in the garden, playing with my grandchildren without wincing, or even just enjoying a long walk. I felt weak, fragile, and older than my years. I had tried different things, creams, gentle stretches, trying to just push through the pain which usually made it worse. Nothing seemed to make a lasting difference. I was starting to believe this was just my lot in life now. Then, a friend mentioned something about how just simple touch and movement could help. Not complicated exercises, but just massage. Natural massage. She called it not going to a therapist, but simple things I could do myself. I was skeptical. Honestly, how could something so simple possibly help with aches that felt so ingrained? But I was also desperate. So, I decided to commit to trying a few basic, natural massage techniques for just 2 weeks, just to see if there was any flicker of improvement. This became the first step in my journey. You could call it the start of my first habit in this process. I decided I would dedicate just a few minutes each day, specifically focusing on areas where I felt the most stiffness and pain: my neck, shoulders, and hands. My initial approach was very gentle. I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I just started by lightly rubbing my shoulders with my opposite hand, just circular motions, feeling where the tight spots were. I did this while watching the news in the morning, maybe for 5 minutes. Then, before bed, I'd spend another 5 minutes gently massaging my hands, focusing on my palms and the base of my thumbs, areas that felt particularly stiff. This was my initial commitment, my first small habit, just 5-10 minutes a day of simple, self-applied natural massage. The first few days, I didn't feel much different. Maybe the areas I massaged felt a little warmer, but the underlying stiffness and pain were still very much there. I wondered if I was wasting my time. Getting up in the morning still felt like navigating a minefield of aches. Bending down was still an act of faith. The skepticism lingered, but the desperation kept me going. I told myself, it's just 2 weeks. See it through. It wasn't a miracle cure overnight, far from it. But there was something about the act of actually touching the sore areas, of paying attention to them, that felt different. It wasn't just ignoring the pain, it was acknowledging it, engaging with it, albeit very gently at first. I wasn't putting much pressure on myself. The goal was just consistency with this simple, daily ritual. Even if I only managed 3 minutes on a particularly painful day, I still did it. This initial phase, just getting into the rhythm of daily, gentle self-massage on my most troublesome spots, was crucial. It wasn't about fixing everything at once, but about planting a seed, starting a new conversation with my body, one of care rather than complaint. I started noticing little things, like maybe my shoulders didn't feel quite as tight right after I massaged them, even if the stiffness returned later. It was a tiny hint, a whisper of potential change that encouraged me to keep going as I moved deeper into that first week. I knew 2 weeks wasn't a long time, but I was hoping to see something, anything, that would show this simple approach had merit. It was about building that initial habit, consistently applying that gentle touch, and just being present with my body's sensations, however uncomfortable they might be initially. As I moved past the first few days and into the middle of that first week, something subtle started to shift. The morning stiffness, while still present, felt perhaps slightly less intense on some days. It wasn't a dramatic change, but more like the volume had been turned down just a notch. This encouraged me to continue with my simple routine. I was still doing the gentle shoulder and neck massage in the morning and the hand massage in the evening, but I started feeling a bit more confident in exploring the areas, maybe applying just a tiny bit more pressure where I felt a knot, but always listening to my body and backing off if it felt too much. This is where I started incorporating what you could see as my second habit in this journey, slightly increasing the duration and focus. Instead of just 5 minutes, I tried to spend closer to 8 or 10 minutes on each session. I also started paying attention to my lower back, which was a constant source of discomfort. I couldn't easily reach it myself for a proper massage, but I discovered I could use a small, firm cushion or even a tennis ball pressed between my back and the back of a chair to apply gentle pressure and roll it around, targeting those tight spots. This became my third habit, using a simple tool to access difficult areas. I'd do this for a few minutes in the afternoon, perhaps during a break. It felt a bit awkward at first, but gradually I found positions that allowed me to get into the areas that needed attention. Around day 5 or 6, I had a moment that really stuck with me. I dropped something on the floor, and instead of bracing myself for the usual jolt of pain in my back and knees as I bent down, I found myself bending more fluidly, and the pain was noticeably less sharp when I straightened up. It wasn't pain-free, but it was a significant improvement. That small victory was incredibly motivating. It proved that this simple, consistent effort was actually having an effect. I felt a flicker of hope ignite. Throughout the rest of the first week and into the beginning of the second week, I continued with my routine. I noticed my hands felt less stiff in the morning, making it easier to do things like grip the kettle or turn a doorknob. My shoulders felt less like they were welded to my ears. I still had days where the pain was worse, days where I felt frustrated, but the overall trend seemed to be pointing upwards. Even if gradually, I started experimenting a little, maybe trying some gentle self-massage on my calf muscles if they felt tight after a walk, or gently rubbing the soles of my feet. It was about exploring my own body and discovering what felt good and what seemed to help release tension. The key was consistency and listening, not trying to force anything, but gently persuading my muscles to relax, using my own hands, or that simple tennis ball. This period, from the middle of week 1 through the start of week 2, was where the real changes started to become apparent. They weren't earth-shattering transformations, but they were significant enough to make me feel genuinely hopeful for the first time in a long while. I was moving a little easier, experiencing less sharp pain in certain movements, and generally feeling a bit less weighed down by physical discomfort. It was a powerful reminder that even small, consistent efforts could yield tangible results. I wasn't a warrior yet, but I definitely felt like I was on the path, leaving the state of feeling utterly weak behind. By the end of that second week, the changes were undeniable. I wasn't just feeling slightly better. I was feeling significantly better. The morning stiffness in my hands, shoulders, and neck was dramatically reduced. Getting out of bed was no longer a production. I could stand up from a chair without that internal groan. Bending down was much easier and less painful. It felt like my body was starting to cooperate with me again, rather than constantly resisting. This is where I felt I had truly progressed from feeling weak to feeling like something resembling a warrior. Not in the sense of being able to fight battles, but in the sense of reclaiming strength, resilience, and capability in my own body. I wasn't back to being 20, of course, and I still had aches and stiffness sometimes. But the constant, draining discomfort that had defined my days was largely gone. The simple habits I had started, the morning shoulder-neck massage, the evening hand massage, the afternoon back massage with the ball, had become integrated into my day, not as a chore, but as a moment of self-care that I actually looked forward to because I knew how much better it made me feel. I started incorporating what you could call my fourth habit, gentle leg massage. My knees and hips would often feel stiff, especially after sitting. I'd gently massage my thighs and calves, focusing on any tight spots. It made a surprising difference in how my legs felt when walking or climbing stairs. And finally, my fifth habit became more about being proactive if I felt a twinge starting in a particular area. I'd immediately spend a few minutes gently massaging it, often preventing it from escalating into full-blown pain. This was a major shift, moving from reacting to pain to proactively managing my body's well-being. The impact went beyond just the physical. With less pain and stiffness, I had more energy. I felt more confident in my body's ability to support me. I started doing things I had avoided, longer walks, tackling overdue gardening tasks, even planning a weekend trip that involved a bit more walking than I would have dared just 2 weeks prior. The mental and emotional lift was tremendous. It wasn't just about massaging muscles. It was about reigniting a sense of possibility and freedom. The simple act of regular, natural touch had helped break the cycle of pain and limitation. It showed me that I didn't have to just passively accept the physical challenges that can come with age. There was something I could actively do, something simple and natural, that could make a profound difference. Looking back at those 2 weeks, it feels remarkable how far I came with just a few minutes of gentle self-massage each day. It wasn't magic. It was consistency, patience, and listening to my body. It was acknowledging the pain, but then actively working with my body to release tension and promote ease of movement. Remember, small changes, consistently applied, truly can make a monumental difference to your health and happiness. You don't need to embark on a huge, overwhelming fitness program to start feeling better. Sometimes, the most powerful tools are the simplest ones, like your own hands, applied with care and intention. This journey taught me that my body isn't something to fight against or be frustrated with, but something to nurture and care for. It's never too late to start feeling better, to reclaim your strength, and to live with less pain and more freedom. Have you ever tried anything like simple self-massage? Or are you currently struggling with stiffness or pain and wondering where to start? I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Sharing helps us all. If this story resonated with you, and you found hope in the idea of a simple, natural way to feel better, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel reach more people who might benefit from hearing this. And subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on more ways to help you live your best life at any age. Remember, age is just a number when it comes to feeling vibrant and capable. You have more strength and resilience within you than you know. Keep exploring simple ways to care for yourself. Keep moving in ways that feel good. And keep living your best life at every age.